who you are, not who you want. You may want to attract a governor into your life. You may want to attract a cabinet secretary into your life. You may want to attract a corporate leader. In reality, however, you don't attract who you want, you attract who you are. Like begets like. Just like a young tree, the gardener shapes it, and it takes all the shapes that the gardener so desires. So must you reproduce yourself in the life of your child. Kids are like tape recorders, watching your every move, listening to your every speech, and eventually you duplicate yourself into their lives. You see what I do in my house every evening? I go and kneel by the bedside of my 2 children. I bless them every day. I pray for them every day. If I make a mistake of not doing that, they will demand it, because it was installed before they learned how to speak. It's a culture that I cultivated. Number 4, connect with your child. Connect with your child. To connect means to create the time, to deliberately create the time. You see, ladies and gentlemen, we have time for what we value. As I speak to you tonight, there's a phone call that can come and you walk out on me, irrespective of what I'm sharing. There are other people who will be looking for you in the course of this fellowship, but you may never remember to call them back. Tomorrow morning, you will call people depending on who you value and in the order of priority on how you value them. Put it otherwise, we have time for what we value. We have time for who we value. So if you are struggling to choose between making money and your children, if you are struggling to balance between work and your children, you might as well quote me, you don't value your children, you are in deception. Now, I want to pick 2 characters for you, and I trust and hope no one will use this message or distort it for whatever reason. I have deep honor and respect for the late President Nelson Mandela. I honestly believe he was larger than life. He was the greatest icon in our generation by the time he died. But I've often wondered, although we are told he may have suffered 27 years in jail, among many others, he lost 3 of his own children to HIV/AIDS. Is it possible? Don't answer me. Food for thought. Is it possible? Is it possible? Deep down his heart, he may have questioned his priorities. He may have wondered, was it worth it to save a great nation out of the forces of apartheid at the expense of my own children? If I needed to save a great nation and the world at large, then did I need to start a family? Food for thought. I wonder how many listening to this voice tonight would want to reach the epic of their career ladder and lose their own children to HIV/AIDS, to drug abuse, to violence, to crime. The only true Nobel laureate from this nation, Professor Wangari Maathai, on her deathbed, it was reported in the local dailies that the one thing she regretted is that she never spent enough time with her own children. If I may paraphrase the good professor, she learned a little bit too late that parental responsibilities cannot be delegated. You can't pick it up from where you left after gaining the fame and the fortune and then pick it up. The growth of children is irreversible. It won't wait for you to put up apartments and buy land and shares and stocks and then pick it up from your busy schedules from where you left. Once you lose every stage, the change is irreversible. A friend of mine one time told me something very interesting. He was carjacked, taken to Gong Hills, and the crooks were so convinced that he was refusing to part with money, but they were so gracious to give him some 5 minutes to make a last call. And they told him, look, we're going to give you a phone because we're going to kill you in just a moment. Make a phone call to whoever you may want. Please talk to me, talk to me. Talk to me if you can. Who do you think he called? His wife. Oh. What do you think he said? What do you think he said? Talk to me, talk to me. What do you think he said? Kuna mawe nilikuwa nimeacha hapo ya kujenga sio kimao. Ile mjengo si kumaliza. Do you think that's what he said? Did he call his boss? Obviously he's still alive. That's why he gave me the story, so don't be sad. They released him. But if you really want to know the most critical relationships and the priorities in your life, just imagine or pretend you're in such a situation and you'll get your house in order. You see, children require presence, not presents. And there's no amount of presence that will bribe your connection with your child. You know, sometimes I do a lot of parental talks. I've done this more than 300 times. And during the Q&A, sometimes I get very strange questions from people. One of the most popular questions, you know, how can I know a child who is in drug or substance abuse? And I definitely threw the question back to the audience with a rhetoric answer. But how, in the name of common sense, would you know a child who is in drug or substance abuse unless you spent enough time with them? Because sometimes children who are outgoing become suddenly withdrawn, overdress when it's hot, underdress when it's cold, overeat, undereat. How would you draw a line between normal teenage behavior from a normal teenage behavior unless and until you had enough time with them? Sometimes I tell parents, just get into the bedroom of your son, your daughter, when they hit 13, 14, and check their wall hangings and the lyrics of the music they're singing, their photo albums, if any. And the first thing the parents tell me, no, I can't do that. Why? That's interfering with their privacy. At what point did you become a stranger? Don't worry, I'm going to answer your question. When she was 3, 4, 5 years old, you sent her to the house girl to do homework. Many of you here are young parents. I was told that the kids presented here, some of them are below 1 year of age or they're at the age of 12. And during that time, some parents are hardworking enough to sign the diary the whole week to avoid disturbance. And when she's 13, you realize this is the time to talk to her about boys. She blocks. Mama, you're interfering with my privacy. You see, if my precious wife Mercy walked out on me because of misconduct, if one day my son Zig, my daughter Ivy told me, if only Dad, you are there for us, like you're there for many other kids, inspiring, motivating, invigorating our spirits. If only you kissed away our tears. If only you prayed with us, chances are we wouldn't be in a chain of the tragedies we are in today. We wouldn't be in crimes. I will be one more broken-hearted father, because to me, true success is when those closest to me love and respect and honor me the most. I will not compromise that for the ring of fame, for the gain of fortune. It is clear in my mind that I'm in this life for a short while, should the Lord tarry. It is not worth it to drive 10 cars, because I can only be in one car at one given moment. I can only sleep in one bed. I can only eat one plate. I must have my priorities right, because my background is statistics. And when I was doing statistics, I realized that 1 out of 1 of all human beings die. They die. Therefore, legacy is not what I will leave behind. Legacy is who I will leave behind. Point number 5. Learn how to communicate. Learn how to communicate. You're too quiet on me, chances are very high because you're in church, and so I will dramatically change the mood. I'm going to give you some stories to see whether you can brighten up your faces. Can I give you the story of a good communicator or a bad communicator? Both. Okay, I'm going to start with a bad one, but it's going to be a hard one. You're going to be very attentive to follow. Let's try. I read of a story of this woman who wanted to divorce her husband, and she went to her attorney, obviously a man, because he didn't want a lot of discussion. And he asked her to be very specific. Like how, she asked. Okay, do you have any grounds? Oh yeah. We have about 10 acres north of town. No, I'm not asking those kind of grounds. I'm asking, do you have any garage with your husband? Oh, you're asking whether we have a garage with my husband. No, but just a tiny carport, but it's enough for a small car. I'm not asking a garage. I'm asking, does this man beat you up? Beat me up? Oh, never. I'm up before him just about any morning. Okay, woman. What's wrong with your husband? She said, the guy simply can't communicate. Oh, many of you followed. Let's try. Can I try a good communicator? This is a dedication to the single parents in our midst, especially ladies. Let of a story of a woman who was in a retirement home, obviously an elderly woman. And on the very first dinner, she sat directly opposite a very handsome man, at least in her own opinion. And she stared at him so much so that he got uncomfortable and decided to confront her. I have the feeling you're staring at me. I am, sure. I am staring at you. Why are you doing that? Gorgeous me. You look exactly like my dad husband. The color of your eyes, your mannerisms, your stature, your eating behavior, you fit the description of my dad husband. Okay, woman, agreed, fine. How many times have you been married? Twice. A good hint for single mothers? Twice. Let me try one more. Yeah. I think now I have the audience I'm looking for. Or is it that I started on a very serious note? Okay, let's try one more. I read of a story of a girl who was in love with a man, and she went home excited and told the mother that she wants to get married. The mother said, you know very well that us Catholics don't get married to Baptists. Cancel the engagement. And on hearing that, the girl began to deteriorate from stress to distress. Fortunately, the mother was a saleswoman, and she devised a strategy to get the man and the girl get married. And she told the girl, just give me a chance to date your boyfriend. And on the very first date, she literally closed the sale. The young man decided to become a good Catholic. He was convinced to convert from a Baptist to a Catholic. In about 6 weeks later, the girl went back to the mother crying. And the mother asked her, what's the problem, Mama? I thought we persuaded your boyfriend to become a good Catholic so that the two of you can go ahead with the engagement. And the daughter replied, that's the problem, Mama. You oversold the idea, now he's becoming a priest. Wow, that's a good communicator. I can see you following me. You know, when I grew up in Sunday school, and every time I left church, I would hear my parents saying, we were so blessed today. Leo tulibarikiwa. Okay, I agree. Tell me 3 things the preacher said. Wacha hiyo maneno. Sisi tulibarikiwa. Okay, fine. Just tell me one thing the preacher said. Please. We were blessed. And I realized, you know, I grew up in a place where communication was a problem. I don't know whether you have ever gone to a meeting where you saw somebody speaking and you felt like lifting up your hand to tell him, it's okay, you can sit down, it's okay. It's okay. And maybe 10 of you here are interceding for me to finish. Now, this happens all the time because communication is hard. And sometimes talking to kids is even harder. So I'm going to give you 3 rules about talking to your children. Rule number 1. When talking to your children, rule number 1, say it as though you are saying it for the first time. Say it as though you are saying it for the first time. Never tell a child, si nilikwambia, unataka nikwambie mara ngapi? How many are married that they're in this hall? How many came here as couples? How many came here as couples? Can I see any two? Okay, there's a couple right here. Look at me, Grace. Look at me. Look at my eyes and say the truth and nothing but the truth. Did he tell you today, I love you? Today?
Yes.
Not at night. Every man has no problem saying it at night. Now, men have no problem saying it at night. Please understand. I didn't ask about last night. This morning. Did he tell you that?
Yes, in the morning.
He did?
Yeah.
You said you're married to him? Look at my eyes, not domestics. Did he tell you this morning, I love you? No, thank you. Another couple? You married. Look at my eyes. Has he told you this morning he loves you? Has he texted? No. He said, no, one of these days I'll come here to speak about marriage. And he will begin to say it every day. No. You know what? A lot of African men believe the woman can see it. Si anaona. I mean, nyumba nimenunua, fees nimelipa. I think this is not a marriage seminar. But for those men, let me just say this. For those men who believe that it's a constant, they already told their wives, I love you. When I change my mind, I'll let you know. The priest was my witness. I'm here to challenge you. Say it as though you are saying it for the first time. Why? Listen, Mr. Evangelist. It's easier to tell her than to hire investigators. Because the way to a woman is through the ear. And if you stop speaking and he starts speaking to her, she begins warming to him. Brother, there is no demon here. Don't pray over it. If he begins to speak to her and you become quiet, she begins to warm up to him. If he's very consistent for 10 years, watch that space. Say it as though you are saying it for the first time. So to your children, repeat the message over and over and over again. Don't grow tired of saying the message over and over again. Number 2, every time you're talking to children, lower your tone. Don't shout. Lower your tone. For simple reason. Every time you raise your tone, you're mad, and madmen are not communicators. For those of you who live in mansionettes, and I'm speaking to mothers here, the mothers who, when they are downstairs in the sitting room, are shouting to a child upstairs, Wajiko, Wajiko! Please, 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 take a walk. It will even cut down your fat levels. Take a walk. Go to where Wajiko is and tell her what you want. Kids get confused. Don't turn your house to a bar. Number 3, you're talking about communication. The first rule was say it as though you're saying it for the first time. Number 2, lower your tone. Don't shout. Number 3, address the situation. Don't make issues personal. Address the situation. Don't make issues personal. Look at my eyes. What's your name?
Margaret.
Margaret, tonight, if you realize the house girl has over-roasted fish, are you looking at me?
Yes.
Don't tell her do like this. Uko na network. Iko sawa sawa. No, the girl said it's okay. The girl said it's okay. She's not at your level. That's why she's not here. That's why she's doing the dishes. So talk about the fish problem, not the head problem. If Peter didn't make the bed, address the bed's problem, not his head problem. No, there's nothing. There's nothing wrong with his head. He's simply 6, and you are that 6. That's the difference. That's the difference. Address the situation, don't make issues personal. Because labeling is disenabling. Point number 6, learn to listen to your child. Learn to listen to